Hello. This is supposed to be for MVCC art, but apparently I don't have it logged in under the right setting. So I am going to see if I can't figure out a way to do that. Nope. Anyway, let's see if we can tag them. Nope. No good at this. Anyway, hi. I'm going to do a quick live paint demonstration. I'm going to use a still life here down in my basement. Trying to do something for my painting group and do some alternative tools and do something that relates to a palette project. I don't have a blue that I wanted to use for a ground, so I bought a canvas a couple of weeks ago before we got the lockdown. What I'm going to do now is kind of start to prepare this. They get ready to do a paint over. So this is going to be interesting to try and do this mostly with one hand. So you may get some moments where things are flipping back and forth, flipping around. You can get a nice view of my ceiling. So I'm going to put some paint on this canvas first. I'll show it to you in a second once I get it on there. I'm going to try to do something where I'm drawing into the paint, wet paint, and then I'll use some different tools and things that I've kind of cobbled together to try and make this work. So I'm using a cold black, which is a blue black paint. And let's get that closed. Now I'll show this to you. So here is my canvas, and it has the blue black paint here, and we have some titanium white. And so I'm going to just I'm trying to coat this whole canvas, see how stiff some of this paint is, which it's very stiff. So it's going to take a minute. I don't have any easels at home anymore, and I don't have a lot of the stuff that I would normally choose to use if I were painting in class. But like I've told my students who are still doing this class, basically what you need to do is figure out what you do have and use what you've got to try and do your best, and then communicate with me when you can about what you would like to do. So I'm looking for a lighter color. Let's get some of this. I'm trying to just coat this canvas with paint. I think I'm going to also need to grab some of my medium. Let me grab it really quick. There we go. Medium of choice today, Gamblin Neo Meg. It's usually the one that I choose the most, and it's mostly just something that helps loosen up the paint. My white paint is very stiff. Oh gosh. Turn this around again. Juggling back and forth between two hands and one hand. Get some medium on there. We'll mix that in. So there's my medium sitting on the canvas. There we go. It's going to help this move around. Mixing it all together and figuring out a way to push this around. I'll probably use a rag at the end to wipe some of this off, so then I can kind of get started painting. So just preparing the canvas right now, that's all I'm doing. Trying not to make a giant mess here on my floor easel. Now there's twice I've already hit the floor. Better get my rags out. Very loose, wet, messy paint. I want it to be a little bit thicker so I can kind of scratch into the paint. My painting students will have seen a lot of this before, the Sgraffito method. And let's just go through and whoops, pull some of that up. And I'm going to use my rag and start to even this out. All right, nice and messy. All right, so this is my still life that I'm going to try to work with, and it's on this canvas. I got it very wet, maybe even too. Whoops, hit the wrong button. So the first thing I think I'm going to do is maybe add some texture. So for this project, I've asked the students to go through and do something where they are going to try to use alternative tools that you don't normally use for painting. So here's my first tool. I'm going to use a leaf, and I think I'm going to just try to get some of that texture in there, see if that doesn't do something interesting in some different areas. I'm just kind of pressing it down. I also have a roller, but it may be a little bit too wet. A lot of this paint is coming right through, so I'm going to have nice and dirty hands. I could kind of scratch it around. I don't know that this is going to make a big difference early on. It is going to make a big mess, but we'll see how that goes. I don't think that really did much. I might try to pull some of this down. So much paint. I think I put too much medium and I had too much paint on before, so this is going to be an interesting experiment, to say the least. So just cleaning up some of this and trying to put a lot of this to the side. Keep some of that leaf texture on some of that. Oof, so dirty. My hands aren't too dirty yet. So maybe I'm going to start drawing now, and I'll go back to using some different tools in a minute. Just putting out a little bit of the cold black on my palette so I can draw with this color. So here's my still life. I'm going to try to paint. See if I can stop moving around for you for a minute and maybe start painting. It'll take some figuring out. Sorry for moving around too much. I planned to use a tripod and some other stuff, and it just didn't work out. So I'm very much winging it right now and hoping that it's not a complete disaster. Should probably say hello. I see a lot of former students popping on and popping off for a second. We'll see if any of my current students say hello while we're doing this. So we're working on the palette project with our strange semester that we have right now. That's probably going to just mean making a couple paintings. And we're trying to experiment with different palettes and different approaches. We kind of covered all the major approaches earlier before we went to spring break. So now we're just trying to work on trying some new artists, some different strategies, but we'll figure out whether we can do this or not. It's going to be a mystery. I may have to change this up from where I was planning to do it before, just because I don't know if I'm going to have the control that I'm looking for. I'm already feeling like I want to just wipe a lot of this off. Maybe this is going to turn into partly a wipeout painting. So I try to get some rag together and just get some of this paint down. It's just too much paint on this. I like a lot of paint, but that might be a little too much paint for me for right now. So almost like we're starting over, except for I know what I'm looking at. There are some things I can still see here. So I'm going to kind of build off of those parts of the drawing. Kind of rebuild that skull. Kind of look at the ellipse on this. Stein. Got a silverish metal stein here. So there I've got some of the drawing there. Everything is definitely kind of bleeding in quite a bit. And I think that I'm going to have to wipe a lot of this down still. So I think I'm going to quit for a little bit and come back when I can use one hand and not have to use two hands to hold this and pick it up and clean it. So I'm going to take a little break, and then I will come back in a little bit when I've got a little more control on this. So thanks for tuning in.